Do you have a student in college? Do you have a student that's thinking of going to college? Do you have a student in high school, junior high school, elementary school? Wherever your students are, you definitely want to pay attention to this interview with our newest #1 international best-selling author, Kris Sposato. So good to see you today, Kris. How's everything going? Oh my gosh, it's been a whirlwind, right?
It's been a whirlwind. I go from 5 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. There's so much going on, and it's so exciting. And sometimes I start to go, oh gosh, I'm getting tired. No, you're not. This is fabulous. You've been dreaming about this. You're keep going.
Oh man. And let me ask you about that just right there, because we are launching one of our upcoming books called Never Give Up. And it is about keeping going. But Kris, how do you said 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. Sometimes we want to quit. It's hard, like you mentioned. You were just tired. And how do you keep going when you feel like that? You want to quit.
Mm-hmm. The two things that I think of first are, one is gratitude. I have to just really step back and think, wow, I am so grateful. This is such a gift that I have the opportunity to be able to do all of this. And sometimes I have to boil it down to, I'm grateful for my computer. Back in the olden days, I couldn't have done all this myself. And, the other thing next to gratitude is, I really have been blessed with a fabulous husband who keeps the rest of the world going and keeps the balls up in the air while I'm focusing on this. So those are the first two things I've thought of, just that popped into my head, was just gratitude in general, and then really feeling great about my life and my husband supporting me. And I wake up in the middle of the night and I think, wow, these are all the things that I really wanted to do since I was a little kid. And all of a
Mm,
sudden, it's my life right now, right now. So sometimes
yeah.
I get tired, and I have to overcome the voices in my head, the old conditioning of, oh, it's 7 o'clock, so I really should pack things up now. I don't live that lifestyle anymore. I have a new lifestyle, and it's go, go, go and get things done.
I love that. What really comes to mind when you say that is, first of all, a lot of times we talk about conditioning that starts from the beginning, and the conditioning that we have within us is other people's ideas and thoughts and desires. It has nothing to do with us because we're little, like we're babies. We don't have any idea. We don't have any control. And so we
Right.
adopt other people's conditioning. And so really that kind of leads to your book. We got this book, so amazing, y'all. You got to check it out, especially if you're a conservative parent. This is ideal for you. If you're a person who's liberal, you might want to check it out just to see what's going on the other side. And this book, Student Voices Silenced, launched, it's officially launching today. It's available on Amazon. You can get your copies. It's incredible. And I would love for you to talk about the book without giving a whole lot away. But really, I want to know, like, what's the genesis of the book? What made you decide to actually write this book? Because Kris, your book is controversial. And so what about it made you decide to go ahead and do that? And, I come from a world of people who are not controversial. Like, we don't share that stuff. And so I would love to hear, what was it about this topic that made you say, you know what, I just got to put it out there and I can't hold back?
You're right. It is controversial, and it has been difficult. I come from a background and a culture too where you don't make waves, there don't even make a ripple in the water, for Pete's sake. But it really was about students. I loved working with students. I loved higher ed, and I retired, and thinking about those students still there with no one to advocate for them just made me heartsick. And I realized I had to do something about it. I was a coach and a trainer. So I developed a coaching program that's exclusively for conservative students. And it's based on personal development and communication skills, resilience skills, all the things they need to be successful in college as well as successful after they graduate, and they're in their communities contributing to the world. So I was doing that, and I crossed paths with you, Linda. And again, I still don't remember exactly how, but you suggested writing. You said that should be a book. And I thought, really? I don't know. And I of course ran into the hurdle of who in the world would publish this. It's just because it's controversial and not a popular topic right now in the world. And you and I talked through it, and you were so convincing and just so fabulous. So I decided to take a stab at it. And honestly, it I have to say that it wasn't all me. That I prayed a lot about it, and I was guided to do this. The doors just kept opening for me, and I kept walking through them, and I wouldn't have known how all by myself. So I'm grateful to you and Sally for helping me know what to do and how to do it. And I'm grateful for the inspiration and just the confidence and support that I've gotten just through faith. And I have experienced loss along the way, um, family and friends, and that's been difficult. But I think this is a higher purpose, and there's something more important than just me in all of this, and that is for our students to leave college feeling really good about themselves and their beliefs and their values and where they came from. And development for this age group is normal, natural exploring. So explore away. That's great. That's what they're supposed to be doing, is finding out what the world holds for them. But it all should come back to some really core values, some really, where's their foundation? And that should be unshakable. And that's what this book talks about, and helps give parents tools and resources to be able to develop that with their own students. Or they can check in with me and enroll in Rise Student Coaching.
Yeah, I just love everything about what you talk about. I am a conservative. I don't talk about it because it's just like I just don't talk about my thoughts in that area. And the reason I don't is because I'm not educated enough to feel like I could have a conversation with somebody and really validate my reasons. They're just my own reasons, and that's it, like period. And
Right.
people can talk to me about what their beliefs are, which is awesome. I love to hear it. And then I will evaluate and decide if I want to shift my thoughts or not. But I do stand by that. I am a conservative. And I want to share that, in this book, again, we're talking about the book, Student Voices Silence. Let me put it up here on the screen so you can see. You can get your copy of the book at risestudentcoaching.com. And then at the very, very beginning of the book, something we started doing with our authors is to add a reader bonus. So you have a reader bonus, Kris, at the beginning of the book. So you got to get the book in order to get this reader bonus. But it's a download of a free copy of Kris's College Survival Guide for Conservatives, 5 easy and practical tips for parents. Why don't you share with us like what that is and like why we should care in order to download that link for that free ebook?
Yes, the free ebook really is a treasure trove of the really basic, simple things that you can do to support your students and prepare them for what's going to happen in college. And a lot of it is common sense things, getting them involved with peer groups that are like minded so they feel support. It's communication skills. And so it's all things that you could Google, and you could probably find a list that's similar, but the ebook really goes into practical ways that you, as a parent, can implement this with your student. So it walks you through it. And I also have a accompanying video. So if you buy the book, you'll have access to that too. And that video also walks you through the things that are in the ebook, but gives a little more background and a little more explanation. So it's a great resource to have for your students of really any age.
So why, Kris, so we talked about, why you did this, and what's your experience in the education field, and who did you, because you interviewed people for this book, and the stories, oh my gosh, my heart just goes out to especially the students. There's one faculty that I remember a particular story about, but my heart really goes out to the students and their parents. And because we blindly have belief in the system, and I say blindly because a lot of times we don't dive in to see like what the system is all about. And when I'm talking about the system, it's whatever system. It could be any system that's out there. We just trust the system, not having education or knowledge about what's actually going on behind the scenes and how it can affect our children. This is where it really gets big. And not only does it affect the children, it affects the parents. And so I would love for you to, talk along that lines, because there were several people that you interviewed through this process, and not to share their stories, but to share, first of all, like, what is your involvement in education? How did you see this as a problem? And then what made you decide to go ahead and embark on this journey of interviewing the people to see what their thoughts were too, because you have your own thoughts based on your own knowledge and based on your own beliefs, but you went beyond that and you reached out to other people as well.
Right. I've been in higher education for 20 years. I'm a student development specialist. That's what my background was in college. I have a degree in education. And so that has always fascinated and intrigued me. I was after I was in grad school, I stayed home with my children when they were, pre-K, and I said my kids are my longitudinal study to see if all these developmental theories in practice are going to work, and if my kids turn out fabulous. So I've always just really felt passionate about development and personal development and student development. I loved those aspects of my job. I did a lot of coaching and training with students on campus, and it was the best thing ever. Probably about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, when the campus culture started to change and become more progressive. It started out the story of the frog in the boiling water. You don't really notice it at first, and you're kind of going along with it thinking, well, this is probably good. If it's coming down from the institutional level, this is probably a really good thing. And truthfully, some of it is. Some of woke ideology is about being a compassionate person and learning empathy and understanding for people that aren't like us. And that truly is a great thing for all of us to embark on that journey. But it went beyond that. It started to kind of push outside of just that. And I had students that would come in and say to me that they were really uncomfortable with some of the content that they were being exposed to or expected to integrate into whatever the academics or social peer interactions. And I didn't have a great answer for them. It's what the institution wanted, and it was the direction that things were going. My advice was, this is the way the world is going, and so if you learn how to navigate this well, you'll get along better in work after college, which I think is still true. However, it started really encroaching on, like I said earlier, the fundamentals, the building blocks of who they were. And intentionally, there is approaches and curriculum and messages that are intentionally developed to shake that foundation of these students. And in my heart and soul, I felt like that was wrong. We had shifted from doing good in the world to compromising another group and really hindering their development as people. So that's how I got passionate about this and got going with it. And when I started writing the book, I defaulted right away to something that was academic. And I was writing a lot of facts and figures and studies and things. And I got partway into it and I realized that that isn't really what I wanted to be telling. What I really wanted to do was to talk to parents, and I really wanted to touch their heart. And I really wanted them to understand and feel what it's like for their kids on a college campus behind the scenes, the things that they don't see, the things that they don't hear about. So that's why I started interviewing people. And I really wanted to hear their other people's firsthand accounts. And uh, shockingly to me, I thought, yeah, I had seen pretty much everything. So I was ready. And I interviewed dozens of people for the book, and parents, students, faculty, other people's staff, people that worked at universities. And there wasn't one time that I got off a Zoom call or I hung up the phone that I didn't just sit back and say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know. I didn't know it was that bad." And so when I say that in the book, people don't know how bad it is. Even those of us who acknowledge and recognize it's bad still don't know how bad it is and the impact that it's having on all these individual people that are on campus and conservative and having to try and hide and not speak and stuff their feelings. It's tragic and it shouldn't be happening. So that's how I got on the train of interviewing people. I really wanted people to feel it and really see, because students are trapped on campus in a way. That's their whole world.
Mhm.
We can go home at the end of the day after we're done with work, and we might have a family, we might have neighbors across the street we can go have coffee with, we might have a church community. There's a lot of places that we can go to interact and get away from that environment. These students who are going to college, that's pretty much everything for them. They live there, they eat there, they go to class there. A lot of them work on campus. Everything, their peer group is there. Everything is in this one environment, and that can be so oppressive if it's not a welcoming and supportive environment. And that's what I really tried to emphasize in the book is that's why this is such a big deal. This is such a big deal because they're just immersed in it. And without any advocates or anyone to affirm that they're okay, they isolate, they get depressed. I had students that left college altogether because they just felt like it wasn't for them. And, unfortunately, they will default to self-destructive behaviors, addictive behaviors,
Mhm.
cutting, even suicidal ideation. That isolation and feeling alone and like you're wrong and bad is significant, and it's very dangerous.
Yeah, wow, there's so many different things to cover there. We don't have time to go over all that, but definitely want to connect with Kris, get her book, Student Voices Silenced. You can get a copy at risestudentcoaching.com. She also offers your services, coaching that you can help you and your student. You help them, through those waters. And there was something you mentioned there. You said, when they get into on the campuses and stuff, especially if you're coming from the conservative side, because there is a lot of non-conservatives there. I'll just put it that way, on the campuses that are running the campuses, the students, that are there. And so it's really like you're going up against, something that you don't even know what's there. But you said shake your foundation. Shaking a foundation is actually a good thing, except when it's pointed totally against what your beliefs are and trying to get you to believe in indoctrination of somebody else's beliefs. So when we shake our foundation, that's actually good because, like I mentioned at the beginning, my beliefs at the beginning of my life were the beliefs that I was around, my parents. Those were my beliefs. Kris, I actually truly, honestly believed until I was 25 years old that only gay men ate salad. Exactly. How ridiculous is that? That was my belief because that was what my dad said. I don't eat salad. Only gay men eat salad. And I believe that. So my point is that you definitely want to shake that kind of belief, because that's not true. Because the reason I even started realizing that wasn't true is because my husband, who I've been with for 34 years, I met him when I was 25, and he ate salads, and he's not gay. So my point is, like, no matter how ridiculous our beliefs are, sometimes we do need to have the foundation shaken, but not to the point that we start believing your beliefs just because those are your beliefs and you're stronger than I am. Your opinion is very strong. And so it's time for us to really grab hold and say, what are my beliefs? What do I truly believe in? And then how do we hold firm to that foundation if we were built on a rocky foundation? So there's so much to uncover here. Now, of course, we don't have time to cover all that today. You have got to get this book. Absolutely amazing. I read it several times, and right out of the gate, I was like, go girl. Because there was, you have a warning right at the very beginning of the book. Let me find it here, because I have my different things marked here. Okay, it's not at the very beginning, because first you go with the dedication, and then you go with the acknowledgement, and then, yeah, so we want to get beyond that. So the introduction is that the trigger warning: the contents of this book will offend and outrage some readers. Kris, when I read that, I was like, you go, girl. This is awesome. So if you consider yourself to be a far left woke woke activist and educator, or a supporter of liberal indoctrination at the cost of instructing our college students to be free thinkers, free speakers, free citizens, to live however they wish within the laws of this country, consider yourself warned. This book will trigger you. So, like, just tell it right out of the gate, Kris. I love it. And before because we're going to have to wrap up in just a couple of minutes, but there's something else that you have coming up. You have 2 more books that you're going to be working on, or you're already working on: Teacher Voices Silenced and Parent Voices Silenced. So let me ask you first, are you going to be interviewing people for these books as well?
Yes, I am. In my journey writing this book, I heard stories from so many people that weren't necessarily within the context of higher education, but in their lives, they had experienced being silenced by this other majority. And teachers are one group that had reached out to me, and this was primarily K-12, which wasn't a part of this book. I was only focusing on higher education. So I realized there's a whole body of work right there, and voices that need to be heard. And the other one, I heard from so many parents and families, parents and grandparents, families that are heartbroken that their families have been shattered because people are being forced to choose sides, and it's become so divisive. Grandparents talk about, we used to have Sunday dinners together, but nobody will show up anymore. My kids or my grandkids won't even talk to me because I'm conservative, and they think that I'm crazy. So those are also stories that need to be told. And those are my other projects, as well as a podcast that's launching just in a few weeks, the beginning of September. So I'm also interviewing people for that. And that is called Conservative Voices Silenced. And I've also heard stories from people who aren't even necessarily conservative, but have suffered the consequences of our voices being silenced, our language being delegated to us, what we can and cannot say, who've lost their jobs because of something that they said or thought. It can be families breaking down. It's our communities breaking down, our churches breaking down. So anyone who has stories to tell, please contact me either through my website, or you can direct message me through Facebook.
Yeah, Rise Student Coaching. Definitely head on over there if you want, if you have a story to tell, which I'm sure a lot of the people listening do, because the people that I attract, their voices have been silenced. And this is such a big movement that you're making, Kris. And I'm just going to say it. I am so glad we changed the title of the book because this is much more fitting of what you're doing. Yeah, so we had a certain title and looked at it to see how that title would land. And I'm so glad we changed it. This is such a great title because look at where you're going with it: student voices, parent voices, teacher voices, and then just everybody's voices. And so there's just the sky's the limit with this. Reach out to Kris at risestudentcoaching.com. Go to her website, get your copy of the book today. Such an incredible, incredible read. I'll put it back here up on the screen. Such an incredible read. And especially for those who are conservative, that's like, this is an amazing book for you if you're conservative. And if you are liberal, it might just get you a different insight into what's happening on the campuses for all those students who are conservative, and it was eye-opening for me. I don't even know what to say about it because I never went to college, so I never experienced any of that. And I just imagine that I was so malleable. I was so prone to following the crowd, to following the herd, that I could have been taken in by something like this easily.
Yeah.
Because my voice was already silenced going in. Like, if I had gone to college, my voice was already silenced before that age. So I just can imagine like all those who are going into this environment and just being indoctrinated heavily with a belief that you don't have, and like I say, like Kris said too, explore, make discoveries, but then decide for yourself. And that's one of the things that I think happens is it like we have so far on this side, that people get polarized. And then when they are taken over to the other side, it's really hard to come to center.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
And a couple of things, my coaching program, I cover diversity, equity, and inclusion in a positive way, in a way that our students and our kids can engage with. The way it's presented on campus is polarizing, and it is difficult for them to do that personal developmental work, which is critical and important. Like Linda said, shaking the foundation. Let's look at what our biases are. That's all good things to do. And with me, I guide them through that in a safe, trusting way so they can really do that work and feel safe doing it. And the other thing before we go is I had been sharing with everyone in the world that we would be doing some book giveaways and a coaching program giveaway. And so
before we go there, Kris, I do want to make a comment on the diversity, equity, inclusion, because what's happening. So as I'm reading your book here, because what I'm actually reading and hearing is not diversity, equity, and inclusion. Actually, what's happened is, again, it's swung way over to the other side, and it's actually diversity, equity, and exclusion is what's happening. That's what's happening, because what's happening is if you don't believe what we believe, we exclude you. That is not inclusion. Right. That is not inclusion. And so how do we get to that place of inclusion? It's by being open to hearing other people's opinions, their thoughts, and to not hate them just because they believe the opposite. And just invite them in.
Thank you,
Invite
Linda.
them in. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yes. Diversity, equity, and exclusion is what we have today. We do not have inclusion. We haven't had it probably since the turn of many centuries ago, but so we're fighting so hard to get to the inclusion that we're excluding. It's called the pendulum swing. We go like this every 40 years. We go through this pendulum swing. Right now, we're way up here, and then we'll get back to center for a little while, and then we'll go back to the other side. It's just what happens. Right. And it's impossible to control because it is a momentum that we don't have control over. But we can have control over ourselves. Right. We can have control over inclusion. This is one thing I know that I do practice inclusion. We have people from all all races, shapes, sizes, countries involved in
Yeah.
all of our books. So I practice inclusion this is what I practice. But when we are trying to indoctrinate other people into our own beliefs at the risk of them being able to have their own voice, this is when we have exclusion. So anyway, I'm very passionate about that.
Well said, Linda. Thank you. That was
Thank
very
you.
well said.
So what do we have? We have DEE instead of DEI, diversity, equity, and exclusion. Okay, Kris, let's talk about your free giveaways. What is it? What are the free giveaways? How can we participate? And how can I win?
Right. I'm giving away 5 books. I'm giving away 1 semester of coaching for your student and parents. So if you're a parent out there or a grandparent and you want to win this for your family, that's another thing. And then for anyone who's watching live, 25% off my coaching programs. So I have 3 tiers of my coaching program that I can explain to you on a call. So, Linda, I'm counting on your expertise. Should I just have people who are on now live that want to be entered into this to just direct message me on Facebook? Or what do you suggest, Linda?
Yeah, direct message Kris on Facebook. On Facebook, are you Christine Sposato or Kris? Because I keep calling her Kris because that's how I know her.
I go by both. It works for me. I think Facebook, if you put in Christine, but either way you can find me.
Yeah, so just go ahead and message her, say, I want to win. I want to win, and it's a great opportunity. So she has 3 different coaching programs. Kris, which of the 5 people, which are they going to win? Which coaching program?
They'll win. I'm giving away 1 of my full program for a semester. So that includes coaching for parents, one-on-one, coaching for your students, one-on-one, and then all of the other modules that I've designed and developed that walk them through the 5 pillars of personal engagement, where they learn communication skills, they learn how to navigate campus academically, they learn how to work within their community and be effective contributors to their campus community, their wider community, as well as resilient skills. So that's
awesome.
kind of in a nutshell. So
that's awesome.
One-on-one with.
And that was 1 person will win that. I mistakenly said 5, but yes, 1 person will win that. So here's the thing. You might be saying, well, my kid knows communication skills. They learn communication in high school, or, I help my kid with communication, or, we've watched a lot of YouTube videos about communication, but none of these are geared toward the college student. Trust me, when you read Kris's book, you're going to see how important this is. Trust me on that.
It is. It's a whole different level, and they're being overwhelmed and bombarded with so much in that moment, just being on campus and everything that is new and fresh for them. So they default back to skills that they have developed 4 or 5 years ago, but they aren't necessarily the appropriate skills for being in college or for what's going on in that moment. So this developmental program will take them from where they are right now and give them everything they need until they graduate and are out into the world. And the other part that is really important for parents to understand is that students are trying to break away from you. I know, I went through it too. But to have a different adult, somebody that's not a pastor, they're not their therapist, but it's someone who can really talk to them they can trust. And we talk about skill building, where their challenges are and what they can do next. It's different than talking to a parent. And in the program I'm giving away, they have access to me all the time. We set up one-on-one calls that are scheduled. But if they're in a pickle, if they find themselves in a bind, they can text me or call me, and I will walk them through whatever situation they're in. And it's helping them learn how to be effective communicators in a very challenging environment. So that's a little bit about the program. And then 25% off any of the programs for anyone else who's listening. And if you message me in the next, 20 minutes by 2:00, then I'll add you into the drawings. So direct message me
Mountain
and
time.
let me know.
Yeah, that's 2:00 Mountain Time.
2:00
just
Mountain
so you know.
Time.
Okay.
Top of the hour for wherever you are. And let me know if you're interested in winning the coaching program, the books, or if you want to find out more about the 25% off enrollment for the other programs.
Yeah, so good, Kris. I'm glad I met you. I don't remember how we met. We connected. What was it?
No, I just said, remember, top of the hour.
Oh, top of the hour, top of the hour.
In.
So message Kris at on Facebook for a chance to win. And I don't know how we met. I can't remember, but I'm so glad we did. And you've got your book out there. I mean, it's so incredible. We met less than a year ago. You attended our retreat in November, and here we are. The book's launched, published with, in less than 9 months, I think it was, that it was published. And so congratulations on taking the steps forward and making it happen. This is so fantastic. With that said, go get your copy again of Student Voices Silence. Let me put it up on the screen again there. Oops, put it up on the screen. Student Voices Silence. Get your copy at, get your copy at risestudentcoaching.com. Kris, thanks so much for being here and being part of this. Truly appreciate you and everything that you're doing to make this world a better place.
Thank you, Linda. Thanks for having me. And this has been a fun celebration.
Yes.
Watching that clip of that night that you had called me, and I was getting ready for bed, and you called to tell me that the book had ranked #1 bestseller, and I just was so overwhelmed. And I am so grateful. You mentioned changing the name of the book, the title, and that title, and a million other things that you've helped me with. I am so grateful. You've been fabulous to work with. It's been a joy. Thank you for this interview. And also thank you for all of the help you've given me along the way.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. And I'm going to play the video that she's referring to right now.
Oh my gosh.
She literally fell off her chair.
I love working with action takers, publishing, because they do take action and they're inspiring. So I want to take action because they want to take action. And there's this beautiful balance of Sally and Linda, and I guess the team behind the scenes. I don't know. I never see them because they're behind the scenes. But, they just balance so wonderfully. It's like this fabulous marriage or something that, it just like works. And it feels a little bit like coming home because, they're wonderful and supportive and nurturing. But then there's also this kind of excitement that's always going on underneath. Like, let's do this. Let's go. Let's get it out on time. Let's get, bestseller. And that is kind of intoxicating. This, if you're feeling ambitious, I guess, if you're not, then it might be annoying. But anyway, it's fabulous, and it's beautiful, and it's worked for me like magic. It's been just magic working with action takers. And I am forever grateful that we crossed paths. I don't even remember how it happened, but I am so grateful. And I would recommend you guys to anyone. When people have asked me, who's publishing your book? And I say, Action Takers. Here's their number. Call them. It's great. So yes, it's been wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I totally screwed that up, y'all. It's so funny because I forgot I put that on a loop. Okay, here I'm coming. I'm coming back. Okay. I totally screwed that up. I had it on a loop so that way when Kris came in, she could see it playing over and over and over again. So with that said, we will end this broadcast the right way. Everybody have an amazing day. Go get your copy of Student Voices, Silence Today, and make a difference, make an impact on your children's life by steering them in the direction that they can make the decisions that are their own empowered decisions.